A very good afternoon to everyone joining us today. I'm Rachayata and I welcome you all to another episode of LinkedIn Live with Logistics Insider. Our theme for today's discussion is regulatory compliance for exporters in the Gulf region with a focus on Saudi Arabia. And this session is powered by HQTS. Now, during the last decade or so, the Gulf region has transformed from being just a desert to an oasis of opportunities for the world. It has been growing as an increasingly attractive destination for exporters looking to expand their markets. To take the complete leverage of the Gulf market, there is a growing need to navigate complex and ever changing regulatory frameworks. And exporters to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Gulf region must comply with various regulations and requirements to conduct business in a legal and compliant manner. Now, these regulations, these the norms, they include customs regulations, export controls, anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing regulations, product safety, quality standards, and taxation regulations. Now, while there are numerous agencies that help exporters through the entire process of shipping their goods to countries around the world, each country has its own set of regulatory compliance norms to be followed. It is therefore advisable to seek guidance from legal or regulatory expert to ensure that you are complying with all the relevant regulations and requirements. This panel today will bring together experts from various facets to discuss and deliberate the challenges and opportunities of regulatory compliance for exporters in the Gulf region. We hope to shed light on key issues and provide valuable insights for exporters looking to enter this dynamic and promising market. Now that we're on the same page about what today's session will entail, let me introduce you to our panel members. First up, we have our session moderator and an expert in EXIM, Dr. Pramod Sant. He is the former Vice President, Head of Import, Export and Customs, Siemens Limited. An extremely warm personality, Dr. Sant has devoted the majority of his career looking after EXIM operations for various companies in India. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Poonam Rawat, Sales Manager, Government Trade Services, HQTS Group. A young and dynamic woman, Ms. Rawat has joined the HQTS Group recently. However, she brings to the table more than 8 years of service in the government trade service business. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, to join us next, we have Mr. Khalid Khan, Vice President FIEO and Director Gecko Group of Companies. Under his able leadership and taking leverage of his vast experience, the Gecko Group has expanded its activities by diversifying its export portfolio. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Coming up next is Dr. Anil Chinnabhandar, Senior Vice President Supply Chain, Landmark Group. Dr. Chinnabhandar is a celebrated veteran of the supply chain sector, and through his years of service to many renowned brands, he has developed expertise in various subject matters pertaining to the supply chain. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Rajita.
And now the last member of our panel, Mr. Edwin Jesudass, General Manager, Head of Import, Export and Customs, Siemens India. Mr. Jesudass has been behind some of the most groundbreaking initiatives in lending visibility into logistics movement. His rich experience in leading change management, helping organizations adapt to new age technology, and includes the fast changing VUCA world. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now, I welcome you all once again to this LinkedIn Live session, and it is a pleasure to be amid industry experts like yourselves. Now, with this, I'm going to hand over the reins of the show to our moderator. And before I do that, I'd like to tell our audience that the speakers will be taking your questions towards the end of the show. So please post your questions in the comments box below, and we will try our best to answer each of them. Over to you, Dr. Sant.
Thank you, Racheta. So, firstly, I wanted to thank the Logistic Insider, Gaurav, Racheta, Apurva, and team for selecting these subjects. Very important subject. Today India is in best place to really increase its exports. A lot of initiatives has been taken. India has never fell short of the entrepreneurs who are ready to export everything, but we see that the government is really taking a lot of steps to encourage this exports. Few steps which are make in India scheme, which is encouraging people to make the things in India for global. uh, PM Gati Shakti, which will add a lot of really infrastructure for the exporters. PLI scheme, I think this is one of the really good scheme which is really taking the shape, where the people will manufacture in India for the global business. Export promotion scheme, liberalized FDI norms, and national logistics policy. These are the few things which is helping exporter, and exports is having focus which was never before in. We are lucky to have this time. Export promotion schemes also, we are eagerly waiting for a new foreign trade policy in coming month. But before that, there are still schemes which are going on: the interest equalization scheme, trade infrastructure for export scheme, market access initiative, ROCTL, road tape, as well as the common digital platform for the certificate of origin, the champion service sector, and the district as export hub. So all this is really helping the exporters, encouraging exporters to do increase the exports. Now, if you look at in today's world, India's share into global market is just coming to around 2% or 2.1%, for which the target is to reach the 3% by 2027 and 10% by 2047. But increasing these exports, today's our rank is 18th. From there to increase, the focus on Gulf sector is very important. The GCC sector, which has got the countries UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, and the Kuwait, have a lot of importance, because India's second highest export after USA is coming to UAE. Then at the number ninth, which is the Saudi Arabia. So in top 15 countries, you have two important countries which are in Middle East, which is the UAE and Saudi Arabia. At the same time, you can see the lot of increase in exports, particularly with UAE and Bahrain and Oman. I have seen the recent CEO has come out that the exports to these countries has increased drastically. A lot of export increase comes to around close to increase in 44%. At some countries, it is really helping to increase the Indian share into these countries. One more thing which need to be mentioned is the free trade agreement, SEPA agreement between India and UAE. India has not done a free trade agreement in last couple of years, because there was always a debate whether the free trade agreement is suitable, it is helping India, or it is really not helpful for the Indian industry. But after a lot of deliberation, this SEPA free trade agreement has been done with UAE, which covers the 90% of the traded bilateral items, and could make the Indian exporter competitive by around 4.5 to 5% duty will get waived off. The recent data after FTA has come in force, it shows the good high volume of exports under the FTA agreement and increase in free trade agreements. So with this all good background, we will feel that yes, there are opportunities to do exports into a Middle East and a Gulf region, and at the same time there are some challenges which needs to be addressed. So we will go into two stages. First stage we will talk about the Gulf region in overall, and then we will focus on Saudi Arabia. So Khalid, sir, you are a vice president in FIO. And when I look at FIO, you have a membership of 30,000 exporters with you. And I can imagine this 30,000 exporter, which includes not only big companies, but also the small scale and medium scale, which is a backbone for exports. And I am quite sure, being a vice president looking after interests of these exporters, can you give us what exporters feel about these opportunities in Gulf and what challenges they face? Over to you, Khalid ji.
Thank you, Pramod. Thank you for giving this platform to me today to be here and to share my views on exports to GCC countries and especially to Saudi Arabia. Well, you have covered most of the points, Pramod, during your introductory speech. That what has been the advantage for Indians to export to Gulf countries. I mean, you talked about the PLI scheme, you talked about the free trade agreement, you talked about the free trade agreement, PLI scheme, and the government incentive schemes and all. You are right. The current of late, the and UAE being the number two destination for Indian exports. Absolutely right. This is the fact, and I won't deny that at all. Okay, the fact is that India's export to the Gulf country is growing good because these countries are not affected by the total what is happening in the world market, the geopolitical situation where Europe and America is very badly hurt and the demand has come down. Normally, literally, the exports from India to those countries, I mean, the importers are stopping the import of their goods because for that end. And that's a challenge in exports as well. And which is reflected, which probably must have reflected in last 2 months export. India's exports have fallen in last 2 months. The merchandise export, I'm talking, not about the services. Okay. Gulf is a very closest destination to Indian export. I mean, Dubai is like for Indian exporter a way for both business and pleasure. If you say they go out for pleasure, but they do business and come back. So that's the ease with Dubai actually. And similarly, Oman. I mean, all these countries have opened up very good. Their regulation is also very conducive. I mean, there is no too strict regulatory bodies there in these countries. Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, Dubai, UAE for that matter. So exports from India to these countries are very easy as well. The connectivity is very close. I mean, flying is easier. The transit by voyage is also 4 days to Dubai, which is absolutely very small. So all these factors are, and the Indian diaspora. The Indian diaspora at all these countries. I mean, we have a good diaspora there. I mean, our people are working there. Our people are serving at the top level in top-notch companies. So all this definitely is helping the Indian export. You're talking of FTA. This FTA was signed in 80 days. I mean, we had never done an FTA in 80 to 90 days with any country in this world. I mean, it's fortunate that we have a good FTA between UAE and India. I mean, it's really helpful to the UAE counterpart and Indian counterpart. Imports are not that much happening though, but exports have benefited because 90% of products are in 0% duty. The rest are 4.5 and over phase of 10 years probably it will be totally zero. So this FTA which has come into effect, I mean, has facilitated the export more to UAE. And UAE is also a destination to go to Africa, CIS
Yeah.
countries. That's a big destination because UAE's consumption on its own is very less. Oman has its own consumption because that's a bigger country on size as well, okay, like Saudi Arabia. But UAE is a biggest destination for re-exports. I mean, a lot of free zones available, which the other countries are replicating. Qatar is replicating, Bahrain is replicating, and even Kuwait is replicating that. Okay, so most of the countries are. But people in India is like Dubai जाने का है. Why? Because that's become a trend actually. Okay, आप किसी को आप you will not listen any saying anybody say Qatar जाना है. Qatar was the destination for football. Okay, a lot of business has Indians really benefited in that football, whatever happened in Qatar, because a lot of technical expertise had gone there, a lot of retail activities have been done there. So all this has really helped Indian exporters to look into these Gulf countries and do more business. And the best part is there is regulation is there, but to a certain extent, it is very easily compatible to Indian exporters to meet with. So these countries have been successful, and we have been successful in doing business with. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Khalid. I mean, really, these are encouraging remarks, and I'm quite sure the exporters will really feel yes, this is a destination, and it's a good destination, no doubt about it. You are able to. Sometime in India, you will take more time to travel, but you can go to Dubai and do the business much faster. People can have a
True.
business meeting in Dubai instead of flying sometime to Calcutta or somewhere. So it's true. Dr. Anil, you represent a retail part of it. So Khalid has definitely merchandise exports. He covers everything, but I wanted to focus a little more onto the retail. So what is the situation in retail? And also Khalid mentioned that yes, from UAE you can focus on Africa and West Asia and other countries. So what do you think about it from the retail point of view?
Thank you for the opportunity, first of all. And then I would like to congratulate, Logistics Insider team for, again, launching this conference and also kind of giving an opportunity to bridge the gap between, the professionals and also the aspiring probably exporters and so on. Dr. Sant, actually, I would completely, agree with Mr. Khalid and then kind of, even go on to kind of confirm most of the things what he said. Particularly in the retail space, I think it's one of the easier territories, easier kind of, regions to do business with. And then, as he said, pretty much there is, there is very little resistance, or there is very little kind of a closed door or a brick wall or something like, most of the things are very open in nature, and then we are able to easily kind of do the business, be it apparels or actually the general merchandise, or in fact sporting goods, or even the some bits of electronics and computer peripherals, even though it's not a big deal. But then by and large, the retail opportunity or even the hospitality sector and all that is pretty much actually comparable to the ones which is in India also. So as far as the opportunity goes, it's pretty much there. And also, who are the audience again? Once again, the migrant community is probably one of the biggest target customers for us, in the retail. Therefore, there's already a familiarity for you. I mean, we pretty much talk about, India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and all those things actually, in this, in our country here, right? Whereas when you are in Dubai or when you are actually in that part of the world, you're almost like, the same family. Like, Pakistan is your neighbor, and then Sri Lankan is another neighbor, and then Bangladesh is actually are just, down the same floor, actually, say things like that, right? So this is a true kind of a mini global kind of a economy, or a mini global cultural setup, if I can put it that way. So in terms of target customers, you pretty much know who your target customers are. And then there is already a fascination of probably towards India or the Indian culture, or the cultural kind of the merchandise and so on, even from the Westerners actually. So Dubai is almost the gateway to even to the West in some sense, right? So therefore that familiarity also kind of opens the door for us as a retailer. So whether it's our apparel or general merchandise, or the hometown business with the furniture and so on, I think it's a pretty conducive environment for any retailers or aspiring retailers to kind of do business with. Having said that, we are a very large retail format. We've also seen smallish kind of even retailers are also doing business with ease. I don't think there is any great deal of kind of even though there are strict actually quality control issues and checks and balances actually on variety of goods and so on. I don't think it is anything, which is impossible, or, it's, difficult to kind of deal with. So most of the environment is very conducive for, Indian exporters. And with a little bit of a helping hand from the, agencies or some of the consultants or some of the, the team such as Mr. Khalid has been using, I guess, it's a very business friendly and kind of like customer friendly kind of market as well as administration. So I've not heard any really bad stories in terms of itna ho gaya, stuck ho gaya, it is unbelievable, it's impossible to deal with. None of those things actually. Yeah, thoda bahut mushkil rehta hai kabhi kabhi, but then by and large, I think it's a great opportunity. And the FTAs and the things, whatever you said about the incentive side of things and so on, right? That should be an enough motivator for probably every aspiring exporter, in fact, to kind of go and start doing business or even expand the business actually into the region. So we'll anyway discuss some of the specifics, in fact, a little later in the session. But then I think by and large, I think it's a very, very, a good place to kind of, expand your business. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you, Dr. Anil. So I come to you, Edwin. Edwin, you handle exports for the one of the big multinational, and it is a technology sector, and lot many things which are involved into such technology product. So, what is your experience about the Middle East when it comes to the exports, and what challenges? I mean, we mentioned that yes, the crowd is familiar there, but in engineering it may not be so, and how they treat as a multinational. You have the German parent company who is also having goods. You are also from India having the goods. So, what is your opinion? How is the market for a high tech industry and companies like you?
Thank you so much, Dr. Pramod, Sant, and thank you, Logistics Insider team, for the opportunity provided. So, firstly, talk about the GCC countries. I think the market is fairly evenly balanced, and they are quite forward-looking. India is probably one of the largest exporters to these countries, especially you talk about UAE or you talk about countries like Saudi Arabia. Okay, they are high Qatar. They are high consumers of products like ours, and especially when you talk about an engineering infrastructure development company, there is a special focus on infrastructure development in most of these countries, and with so much of oil refineries there, we have a sizable amount of investment in both services exports as well as goods export to these countries because they focus on electrification, transmission, distribution, and so on and so forth, as well as in automation of the industrial plants and machineries. As far as our experience with these GCC countries goes, I think the experience has been fairly equal, normal, no untoward incidents of any harsh behaviors. Okay, the markets are very open as it is in India. Yes, they are definitely forward looking. They are changing for good. There are a lot of automation happening in most of these assessments and customs dealings. There's a lot of transparency being brought about in the form of information readily being available on their customs portals, the portals becoming highly digitalized. So I think more or less the customs regulations in most of these countries has been good, and the experience so far for specifically for goods under 84, 85 chapter have been good. And of course, yes, also to say is that there are no second level treatments stating that, okay, this is an export coming from India. Okay, Indian goods are treated at par with the products that probably get manufactured from the European principles too. So therefore, I feel that there is a respect to do great business
Yeah,
relations.
yeah. Thank you, Edwin. So one important point which came that if goods are coming from European or other countries and the Indian engineering goods are treated equally. It is not a differentiation that if products are coming from India, uh, they need or they are a little less in quality. I think this is a really good input that they treat European goods and Indian goods equally. I think this is very important. Now I will come to Saudi Arabia. See, we have been seeing Saudi Arabia and recent all the articles shows their non-oil consumption is or development into non-oil sector is increasing drastically. Number one, they have seen the purchasing things which are non-oil has increased or to the highest level from 2015 onwards in these years. They are spending they are really focusing on the purchasing. Their purchasing power is good. They are focusing on to really good development. So Saudi Arabia is at definitely today number ninth in India's total list and second in Gulf, but they have a capability to grow further. They have a appetite and they have money. So Saudi Arabia is a good opportunity. So Poonam, I come to you now with this background. So there and your company, what is your opinion and what you exactly do to support the exporter? You have seen the enthusiasm of exporters. Khalid is representing 30,000 exporters. You have seen multinational, you have seen the retail business, all are enthusiastic, and they find that it is opportunity, as Khalid mentioned, that they have money, it is not affected, so everybody is looking at it. So can you brief what uh, how you can help from your organization this exporter and what you exactly do? Yeah,
Yes.
over to you, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pramod. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pramod. Yes, I'm from HQTS India, Government Trade Services Department, and we here handle all the certification related to the different sectors, different countries. First, I would like to introduce HQTS. HQTS is a leading quality control company in Asia with global presence in over 20 countries and offices in all major trade and production regions such as India, Vietnam, China, Uganda, UAE, and among others. We operate in the testing, inspection, and certification industry and are a full member of the TIC Council. With over a decade of experience, we have helped over 50,000 clients worldwide through our quality assurance services. We have helped, our operation in India started back in 2008, and we have since expanded to provide quality assurance services throughout the entire Pan India region. As we are here to discuss about the importance of the regulatory compliance to export in Saudi Arabia market. So Saudi Arabia is a rapidly growing market and one of the largest in the Middle East. However, for the companies looking to export their products to Saudi Arabia, it's essential to be aware the country's product safety program. Business exporting or importing regulated products to the KSA, like Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, need to demonstrate compliance and meet applicable technical regulation and standards. It's important to note that the regulation requirement in Saudi Arabia may change time to time, and it's always best to check with the Saudi Arabian authorities and trade organization for the most updates. That's where we as a third party comes in. We help exporters and logistic companies with the testing and inspection services in their respective regions to ensure that their products meet all the relevant national standards. And then we issue certificates of conformity for consignments that comply with the regulation to ensure smooth process at the borders. Here are some general steps that exporters need to take in order to export to Saudi Arabia. Like first, research the market. Definitely understanding the demand of your product and the competition and the regulation and standards in the Saudi Arabia. That is very much important. What are your the product and what is the standard regulation provided by the Saudi Arabia market? Then definitely identify the potential buyers and establish to business relationship with them. And after that, which comes to the comply with the custom regulation. Exporter has to ensure that you comply with the all the custom regulations and procedure in Saudi Arabia, including obtaining the national license and completing the required paperwork, which is very important in the Saudi market. And after that, to arrange the transportation of your goods to Saudi Arabia and handle all the necessary logistics, such as arranging the freight forwarding, warehousing, insurance. And after that, you can take follow up with your buyer to ensure that everything goes smoothly with import and delivery of goods. And it is very advisable that to have a local representative in Saudi Arabia to facilitate communication and compliance with the regulations and customs of the country. And make sure you have all the necessary documents before all the these exports and logistics and transportation that you need require commercial invoice, bill of lading, and certificate of origin and other documents which required for the shipments. Yes, there is one more thing which need to be focused at, the local culture. We have to keep in mind that Saudi Arabia has a unique culture and customs, and make sure we are aware of that and respect these when conducting business in the country. So here I'm telling you about the something about the certification for the different product. Like certain goods entering the Saudi market must be verified through the nation's product conformity assessment program. These products referred as a regulated product must meet a series of technical regulations set by the Saudi Standards Meteorological and Quality Organization, that is SASO. Every regulated product imported to the country must be accompanied by a product certification of conformity, that is PCOC program, issued by a certification body, and shipment COC for every shipment. Sorry to say, but failure to comply with these regulations can result in delay, penalties, or the shipment being returned. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia requires a PCOC, that is product conformity of the certification of conformity, and shipment COC for the certain regulated items that includes electronics items, chemical, textile, construction building materials, mechanical items. To obtain these certificates, there is a platform which is called Sabir. This platform aims to protect the businesses from fraud and ensure that the products are free from defects and may affect the health and safety of the consumers. There is another program which is GMARC certificate. That GMARC certificate demonstrate compliance with the Gulf technical regulations when exporting products to the Gulf states. The conformity marking is compulsory for low voltage electrical equipments and the children's toy. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia requires a conformity mark for multiple product categories, which includes electric items, air conditioner, refrigerators, plug sockets, washing machines, heater, microwave oven, hair dryer, and electric irons, and many other home appliances like this. There is another certification which is SQM certificate. That is the Saudi Quality Mark certificate. It is a conformity mark granted by the Saudi Standards Metrological and Quality Organization. This mark is issued to factories that have an efficient management system and continually adhere to applicable technical regulation in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is proof that the facilities has an effective quality control and the assurance system to produce goods with the required quality meet the standards. Here are some, product which require SQM certificate. Those are ready mix concrete and cement, ceramic and porcelain tiles, steel bars, iron plates, gas appliance and accessories, aluminum composite panel, electrical extension cords, plugs, switches, and sockets. The last one, that is SFDA program. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia requires that all the consignment of cosmetics and food products exported to the country comply with the Saudi Food and Drug Authority technical regulation, that is SFDA. That SFDA COC serves as a proof for the conformity of your food and cosmetic products with the Saudi Arabian regulation and is to be presented to the customer authorities upon import to ensure that your delivery arrives safely and on time at its destination. It's important to note that exporting to Saudi Arabia can be complex and time consuming, but with the right preparation, research, and compliance with the regulation, it can be a profitable market for your business. It always best to consult with a trade expert or authorities bodies who is familiar with the Saudi Arabian market to help you navigate the process. With that, I would like to thank you all for attending today's webinar. And I hope the information I provided about Saudi Arabia's conformity program was helpful. And I would just like to point out that as a third-party quality control company, we have witnessed many cases where non-compliant goods were penalized, re-exported, or destroyed, and resulting in additional cost for the exporter. Therefore, as a closing mark, I would like to suggest all exporters to understand the national standards and technical
Yeah,
regulations
good.
applicable to their product category
Yeah,
before
good.
exporting to a particular country. In
Yeah,
case of
thank you.
any uncertainties, it is always to seek the advice from the relevant authorities like us, HQTs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Poonam.
Thank you.
So, my impression comes is that there are quite a number of non-tariff barriers which could be happening into when you are exporting to Saudi Arabia. I could see the replica of FASI or BIS or other things which is exactly in Saudi Arabia, similar way. So, Khalid, I mean, any non-tariff barrier is always to protect the local industry or to protect their consumers, also, we can say. And it adds a cost, transaction cost, delay. Una mentioned about delay and the cost and risk also. So, how you feel the exporters are able to grab this opportunity? They are facing these challenges, or these are manageable? This is my question to Khalid, and then I will come back on more with to Anil and Edwin. Yeah, so over to you, Khalid.
Thank you, Pramod. Poonam, thank you for a presentation that you did But unfortunately, your presentation only said what we have to do. Okay, how to do, and the cost and the damages for that you didn't mention that. So fine, I understand that, not a problem though. But talking of Saudi Arabia, I just spoke few minutes before. I applauded the GCC countries. I said very good access and everything is fine. Saudi Arabia is a part of GCC country also, but you can see with what Poonam said, the challenges that an exporter has to face to export to Saudi Arabia, whereas these challenges doesn't come when you export to the other 5 countries of GCC. Well, it is their way of working, it is their system, it is their government. We are looking at His Excellency Mohammed bin Salman doing a lot of improvements in what was earlier a conservative country to a modern country, and a lot of changes are happening. Having said that, all this SASO and Saber, that certification, it is only adding cost to an exporter's product and making money for these certification bodies indirectly. I mean, what I want to say is the customer, the exporter has to bear this cost. It is a profit to the bodies who are certifying it, which the other countries like Dubai or UAE or Oman or Kuwait and all, they don't read this. Okay. Just for an example, I've taken some research on this before I came here. Let me tell you about a specific industry, which is a tile industry who has to export to Saudi Arabia. An expense of 17 lakh rupees for 3 years, they have to incur. First year, the expenses for registering in SABIC and SASO is 12 lakh rupees. 7.5 goes to our TUV or HQTS or whatever it is, okay, for their services, and 3 lakh goes to the SASO admin. Balance, 7.5 lakhs, the balance goes to the SASO admin. So both are making money there. End of the day, that is for 3 years. Second year, you have to pay 2.5 lakh rupees. Third year also, you have to pay 2.5 lakh rupees. And entire process takes 2 to 3 months to get this registered. In spite of that, the import duty is 106% in that country for the tile. And that is for the new factories. There are the factories which have been in existence before 2016. For them, there is a 42% anti-dumping. They don't come under 106%. See, there is a different duty structure as well. In spite of doing all this, and everybody has to go through SABIC and Saber. SASO and Saber. So there are no new companies getting registered in this. So we are losing business. They are protecting their own industry. Okay. This is just one example I took. There's one more example which I have here. This has come from a company in Ludhiana. They say after implementation of SASO, we are facing a huge challenge to process small orders to Saudi Arabia region. Problem is testing certificates. Older than 4 years are rejected by SASO even though the product is not changed physically. Now you understand. SASO rejects the certificate. The product has not changed. But SASO says, go back, get me a certification. The cost of testing of some small products is quite high, and if demands are customized by Saudi buyer, then it is an extra burden to get testing done. Again, since other regions like EU accepts older test reports. Thus, a self-certification should be accepted by SASO. That is the view. The SASO charges are exorbitant. He says the SASO charges are quite steep, of around $800 to $1,000 per product. The cost of these charges should either be reduced or an additional subsidy by Indian or Saudi government. That is his way of saying. And all these are creating problem and challenges for exports to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, though, it comes under number 9 position for India's export, but they have different rules and regulation for different products. That is something which is very difficult. And the charges, as I told you, exporters need to find out a way how to get them. I have got one more, Dr. Sai has sent me. Government controlled enterprise in Saudi Arabia are increasingly introducing local content requirements for foreign firms. Aramco's in Kingdom Total Value Added IKTVA program, for example, strongly encourages the purchase of goods and services from local supplier base and aims to double Aramco's percentage of locally manufactured energy-related goods and services to 70% by 2021. This is what is happening in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I was talking to an exporter who was exporting from here PVC resins or something like that. He said earlier I was supplying directly to Aramco, but now they said they have to be supplied through a mediator. The mediator makes money. This guy is not making money because there is a third party which has come involved. So these challenges are really very high, and it is becoming, I mean, it is becoming really challengeable as the days are going by. So my way of looking at it is that why can't Saudi Arabia follow what the other countries are following? Number one, okay. GCC has 6 countries, whatever they are. The import duty is the same because they have formed a group so that the import duty is common in all the countries. So why can't they have a solution that if UAE is accepting it, why not we accept it? Secondly, I mean, what Poonam said that they were trying to control money laundering or something. I mean, certification doesn't control money laundering. Okay, certification is basically called SQM. SQM is the most difficult, problematic thing because what I understand, I may be wrong. Poonam, correct me if I am wrong. The guys come from Saudi Arabia, they fly to the destination, and then they verify the factories and they verify the structure. I mean, they don't give it to SGS or maybe HQTS to go and do a verification and do. They come here and the expenses about. I was looking out to export steel. The expenses were 70 lakh rupees to register it. I gave up the business because I can't afford it. Okay, honestly speaking, I can't afford it. So these challenges are becoming big. They can have like how Europe has CE marking. It is very common for everybody to get a CE compliant thing. Siemens, you must be also, Edwin must be also getting a CE compliance for export to Europe and all things. So it could be worked out. I mean, this is my suggestion to the people who are hearing me out today and to the authorities present today, that they can come out with one certification body, one CE mark or something like that, which can help people to export to any destination in the GCC countries. So all these things, if we put together, export to Saudi Arabia is becoming challenging. They have their own industry to protect. I do understand that. But having said that, for food, I mean, I heard now that commodity is also becoming a big problem. There is a approval for, like, I think she said SFDA, something like that, for commodities. I mean, you are exporting rice also has to pass. So we are doing FASA here. We are doing phytosanitary here. We have everything here which we do, which is also a requirement. So apart from doing all those things, I mean, this is getting more challengeable. I mean, I am not against anything, but I am trying to make the system, I'm trying to understand the system, and I'm trying to suggest a system that can ease the business for everybody to Saudi Arabia. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I think you have really very clearly told problems which are there. And yes, the genuine expectations are, yes, it needs to be reasonable. You have to understand the requirement of each country, but it needs to be this thing. And this difference in GCC countries and Saudi Arabia is a glaring difference. Edwin, you have what, and Khalid mentioned the products which will have CE marking already, and do they respect your products are approved in Germany or in USA and in India? Do they respect, or you need to also go through these testings? What is a global certification? Is it helping in Saudi Arabia, or we have to go for approvals? Is there any guidelines, or is there anything helps on that?
Sir, yeah, I mean, the answer is yes as well as a no, okay? Because the fact that the Saber and the quality requirements is quite standard across for any and every goods that that's a regulated product and enters into Saudi Arabia. So you will naturally have to kind of comply through that, okay? But yes, the authorities have a little lenient stand when they know that yes, your product is compliant under the European standards, okay? But yes, procedurally, you will have to kind of register the product under the product certification, and then of course, every time you have a shipment coming in, you will also have to kind of go for a shipment certification, and of course, the product certification is kind of gives you a validity almost for 1 year, so you could ship n number of shipments under that for that period as as long as it lasts. But of course, every year this is a continuous process, and you will have to go through that procedure.
So it is same for MSME, and it is same for multinational also. It is same for all Indian companies.
Absolutely,
Okay, I
yes.
understand. Anil, what is the scenario in
Absolutely, yes,
retail?
but
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Edwin.
So at the
Yeah,
same time,
Edwin.
having said so, sir, apart from yeah, having said so, if the certification is once done, thereafter the clearances are not that cumbersome. I mean, it's as easy as you clear a goods in India, and then you get a pre-alert couple of days earlier, and then you are able to kind of get the shipment certificates, and within about half a day or one day, the shipments are out from customs. So it is not that cumbersome thereafter.
Thereafter. Okay, that's a good point. That is a little silver lining, yeah, on the difficult situation. Anil, now she mentioned about so many items which come in retail market. So many items which come in retail market. So how are you tackling this thing, or how is your focus with such a requirement and the agencies which you require approvals, etc.? What is your experience, and what to be done so that this is little better off for exporters?
Well, Pramodji, in fact, I think most of the things, whatever Poonamji was mentioning, was or is actually for some of the newcomers or the upgradation of actually the businesses and things like that, right? Incidentally, I've refrained myself from saying fortunately, because we've been there in the GCC countries for the last 45 years, which means we are almost part of the overall culture, be it KSA or rest of the GCC countries and so on. So we have kind of grown with the system. Therefore, Khalid ji mentioned quite a few challenges and all that, because he covers a vast amount or a vast range of actually industries and so on. Fortunately, retail formats actually have a lot more a kind of a proven, a demonstrated, or even kind of a easy to kind of go through situations in terms of certification. There are not so many barricades as such, because maybe that is yet to come. I mean, looking at the science of it, now that they are looking at encouraging a lot of local manufacturers, local agencies, and so on. Maybe the retail is not too far away from certain restrictions and so on. But then again, I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to take a probably slightly a philosophical probably approach. I mean, be a Roman when you are in Rome. I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, India was one of the most controlled economies until very recently, right? So we actually have been through the mill. We actually have been through the barriers and all the whatever the Sarkar Raj or whatever they used to call, right? I mean, like the controlled economies and all that. I mean, when we were kids, actually, we were looking at people coming from Middle East actually to even get our bath soaps and all that. Cami soap was one of the most favorite gifts actually that we would expect from people coming back from Dubai and then Saudi and all that. So it's actually an evolution, right? So I think we are in that part of it. So in terms of retail, I don't see so much of struggle or so much of kind of unanswered situations and so on. Having said that, particularly Saudi, you have certain rules, you have certain expectations, you have certain methodologies that the community or the culture or even the government works. You will have to just get on with it. For example, Ramadan happens to be one of the most challenging times for us, right? I mean, the ports actually don't work that efficiently. People don't turn up, in fact, and a lot of the inspectors are checking officials, and then some of the people who are supposed to kind of come and enable these transactions, all of a sudden they go for probably a long leaves and things like that. So your productivity dives down big time actually during those days. We will have to prepare for that. We'll have to just work around that. And then being Indians, I think we are masters of not only I wouldn't want to say the word jugaad, because it is not a jugaad, it's actually better planning, in fact. So we do a lot of those pre-plans, in fact. So maybe get the shipments a month advance, which means my inventory holding cost might go up, and then I might be trying to probably pay a little extra for the peak season and things like that, because on one side, if you're really getting it from China, there are Chinese New Year related actually pressures are there, because it's all a global scenario, right? So therefore, there are some transactional hurdles that we need to deal with, which is what I think we have a large enough team locally sitting in Dubai office, locally sitting in GCC countries and so on. As I was saying, before even starting this conference, like sometimes to decongest the probably the routes, decongest the ports and so on, we might take the shipments to the alternate ports and then try to kind of clear it there, and then try to kind of make sure that the inventory is available for the retail business and so on. So I wouldn't want to probably say that there are some big hurdles which is probably avoidable, or like unbreakable kind of a thing. We definitely can work through some of those things and get to what we want. I mean, I definitely don't have the bigger challenges what Mr. Khalid was actually mentioning. So it's all doable for us.
Thank you. I can understand that the first comer, yeah. First, I will come to you, Khalid. Just give me a second. Yeah. So that what happened, the first somebody is doing entry will have different barriers, different challenges, different cost. The people who are having
Yes.
the established, they will have different, but they have more idea about what could happen or what you hope. So we are running definitely out of short this thing time. So Poonam, any quick comment on to the certification, how you can help with all the, see, you can see that you have different type of customers. There are small customers who are cost sensitive, they need a faster result, they want entry, how you can support them. There are established people who may need some different requirement. So your quick comment on that, so on this, how you can help them.
As a third party inspections, we can just follow the guidelines and regulation of the SASO government, the SFDA program and SASO and STM. We can just help in that we can guide the exporters that what all the requirements actually needed from the Saudi government. But
Yeah.
we can't comment anything on the any cost of compliance and all, because we are following the guidelines from this.
Okay. Understood.
We are
Understood.
following the
Very,
guidelines.
yeah, very clear reply. So Khalid, when I come to you, I have also two short questions for you. One is the FIO. Now you have seen there are people who are established in Middle East. There are people who are having global support or MNC. How FIO facilitate ease of doing business for Gulf as an organization? This is my one quick question. And second is, do you see in new foreign trade policy the government focus on Gulf? Have you given some suggestion or what are your expectations? These two quick questions for you. And I have no better person than you.
Thank you, Pramod. Now, let me. I raised my finger for just one reason. Dr. Anil said that we are, we are very efficient people, and we, like, for the month of Ramadan and all, we take care of everything. But that's a short-term thing. That's for 1 month that we can prepare ourselves. We can, for a short period, we can do a lot of things. We are capable. But what I was talking was on a larger perspective. That the challenges are for even the newcomers and even for the old timers. Like how you see a tile company. Yeah, a tile company who's 2016 before, he's also paying 46%. Okay, but a tile company is registered now is paying 106%. I mean, this is a challenge. A small MSME cannot stand all these challenges. As long as if it is, and if it is, it has to be either supported by the government here under any scheme or something else, or these so-called certification bodies are making money out of it. And I'm sorry, with the due respect to you, Poonam, I'm not talking about you. Generally, I'm talking. Don't take it personally. So they are making money, and the government of Saudi Arabia is making money for that. Anyways, that is one thing which I wanted to comment and say that. So we need to do something about this. Something has to be worked on this. As long as we are talking of a GCC FTA also, if you know, Pramod, we are talking about GCC FTA also. So probably this could be covered. Your question, so your first question was about what as FIO, what are we doing to the exporters who help them in? So we do a lot of facilitation for the exporters in terms of, I'll correct your numbers. We have 40,000, not 30,000 members. Okay, we have 40,000 members pan India in FIO. Okay, so we have to we do a hand holding for every exporter, right from an artisan to the top company. I mean, whoever there in who needs our support. We do a lot of B2Bs in Middle East countries. We do a lot of exhibitions there. We take trade delegate. We just finished a Sourcex show in Dubai a couple of months back. That was a Sourcex show of Indian products in Dubai, and it was very well attended. A lot of people went there. The small exporters I'm talking about. The biggest don't need hand holding. They can do it themselves. So the small exporters, the micro, medium, small, and all those people, we do a lot of such exhibitions. We facilitate, and in case they need any help in getting the FTA certificate of origin, although we are not authorized as PO to issue the certificate, but we guide them, we tell them where to go, how to get the certificates, and that really helps the exporters to promote themselves in Middle East. Your second question was about
new foreign trade policy.
yeah.
Do you expect some focus on the Gulf exports?
I don't think so. There is any. We are waiting that foreign trade policy comes through by April 1st, and we are very positive that this time the policy will come out. You know, the vision of our minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, is that we are looking at 770 billion of trade exports, which includes services as well as the merchandise. So when that is about 12% growth. This is the statement in today's paper as well. Okay, so with that vision, we are we are looking forward for some ease of doing business in this policy. We are looking at an e-commerce related policy this time because we all have forgotten e-commerce. I don't know how is Sabar and SASO are going to come in this e-com business, because what is the control there? It is 2 piece going, 5 piece going, 6 piece going, 1 piece going. So that becomes absolutely useless. I mean, if you look at e-com business happening and then Saber and SASO happening, something is really wrong somewhere. That's what I was to say. Okay, so we are looking at e-com policy to come. This policy, which is our main focus, and we are looking into that. Thank you, Pramod. Thank you.
Yeah, Edwin, I have one question. With SEPA regulation or FTA, do you feel something Gulf, particularly when UAE FTA has come, whether it has smooth sailing or you have some new regulation or challenges or contents, Indian contents, etc. You face anything, or it's really a well done FTA and well done mechanism happening on SEPA
At least,
certification?
at least I will feel on the. I mean, sir, with reference to UAE FTA and the FTAs that we've signed thereafter, I mean, to count with the Australian FTA also, I feel there is a new way of looking at the FTAs. Okay, the scope and span of these FTAs are quite larger. Okay, multiple different business scenarios are also taken into consideration, while designing these FTAs, unlike the older ones, which were very straitjacketed and treating an export as single transaction. So I feel the UAE FTA has also set up a very right tone and tenor in which the government is looking forward to and looking at promoting exports, not only focusing on giving duty benefits in the country. So I think so. We are eagerly awaiting, especially with Saudi Arabia, as we discussed. The trade is quite huge. I mean, 34 billion of imports and about 8 billion of exports. So the balance of trade is quite high. So in order to boost exports, I think it is time that we seriously look at the GCC FTA, and as early as possible, if that's pushed, I think we can certainly look at a growing trade between these two geographies.
Yeah. So Anil, I give you last minute for last comment, very quick comment before we close. We have just 2 minutes left. So any quick comment from your side?
No, I completely agree with Edwin. I think even in terms of the FTA side of things. I mean, I'm actually half Australian, right? I mean, I see a lot more focus. I mean, there isn't great deal actually for us to gain from actually Australia, because as I said, I'm an Australian, so I have a lot more to export to India than the other way around, right? Whereas in GCC, like exactly Edwin was saying, the opportunity is very huge, and if we have to become a whatever trillion kind of economy or whatever in the near future, the opportunity is right in front of our hand. I think GCC FTA will probably be the biggest opportunity for in our lifetimes actually. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So it is a really interesting decision. 1 hour is, I'm quite sure it is very difficult, but we have got good insight from variety of exporters, MSME, SME, multinational, retail, and Poonam, good insight. One thing is very happy. One is that you are available for help to the people. You have heard the people from really what are their pain points. So if people need a certification, I think you and your organization will definitely help them to see that there's some of the pain is at least reduced. On this note, I wanted to really thank Khalid, Dr. Anil, Edwin, and Poonam, and I wanted to hand back to Racheta. Excellent conversation, and I think good points which needs to be taken up with various authorities, which will make really our exports to Gulf and Saudi Arabia will definitely boost. Thank you. Thank you, Logistic Insider. Back to you, Racheta.
Racheta, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Right. Thank you so much. So I totally agree with you, Pramod sir, that this was indeed a very exciting, very interesting conversation. And to sum up, from what I understood, being a complete layman, um, I think navigating the regulatory landscape when coming to any country, and for that matter in Gulf as well, it is very complex, but it is equally essential, and it impacts every aspect of business in the KSA and the Gulf region. Now we've learned about the importance of local laws, understanding local laws and regulations, building local relationships, and investing in technology and logistic solutions to ensure there's compliance and to avoid the penalties. Now, as we close this panel, I'd like to emphasize that critical role that collaboration and communication play in achieving this regulatory compliance that we are talking about, especially in the Gulf region, because from what I understood, they take their they take the regulations and their norms pretty seriously. The insights and experiences shared by our panelists today underscore the need for ongoing dialogue and engagement between the government, the industry, and all the other stakeholders. And it is only through such collaboration that we can continue to foster a business environment that supports innovation, growth, and prosperity for both the countries. So, with this, I'd like to end today's session. I thank you once again, all our panelists, for joining us today, taking out time. And thank you so much to our audience as well. We hope you enjoyed the show. And yep, I think that is it. And you guys have a really good day ahead. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye bye.